All right, so the class that I was teaching, that I'm planning on teaching this summer for the Art Academy, will be a combination of sort of introduction to art history and a little bit of introduction to museum studies. So I'm really interested in trying to get them excited about art. I came to art history after high school because the state I grew up in, which is Ohio, which is actually quite similar to Oklahoma in many ways. We didn't have a lot of AP programs, and we didn't have art history or art AP programs. So I discovered my love for art when I was about 17, and I was studying abroad as an exchange student. So I want to foster that same kind of excitement in our students this summer, sort of discovery of art and the ability to learn something and sort of take ownership of it. So oftentimes students, teenage students, are more interested in contemporary art, more interested in 20th century, so I thought we would focus on a few 20th century artists. And so the class will really be a combination of kind of a classroom learning, a little bit of lecturing, but I don't want to go too heavy-handed on that because that can get kind of boring, but also kind of an experiential, hands-on aspect. So we'll learn about some artists, we'll go over to the museum, we'll handle art, we'll talk to the staff at the art museum, and well, so it'll be a little combination of, you know, learning what is possible if you're interested in art but don't necessarily want to be an artist. So a little bit of art history, a little bit of museum studies, and a little bit of kind of career development almost. These are the careers that are possible for you if you want to do something that's art related. Yeah, I graduated from high school when I was 17, so I had a little extra time. And so for my kind of gap year, so I did a gap year before a lot of students, before that was kind of a popular thing to do. So I ended up traveling to Europe as part of an AFS program, American Field Service, for a year, and I enrolled in art school in the Netherlands, where I did not know the language at all, which was quite a sort of sink or swim kind of experience. But at the art school, which was really wonderful, so I learned all different kinds of art practice. They also had a theoretical component, which was a lot of art history. And that was my first exposure to art history, and I was really excited. And here I was in a country that had a really rich artistic tradition, and I was making art, and I was looking at art, and I realized that I really loved the history part. I really loved knowing the stories. And so actually when I'm teaching about art of the past, I really, what my students often say is I teach it like I'm telling a story, so they really feel like they're part of the life at that time when that art was made, that they know something about that artist. That's actually one of the reasons I really love teaching Rembrandt, because I know, I mean, I've taught him many, many times. When I lived in the Netherlands, I lived for 5 years there, ultimately. I lived right around the corner from Rembrandt's home and studio, so I feel kind of personally connected to it. And I really want to get students excited, make them feel like they're part of it, make them realize that the past is not boring. And I think that's often hard, particularly teenagers, and I'm a mom of teenagers. Like history, and the eyes roll back, and that's okay. But I'd like them to realize that things in the past can actually be really interesting and exciting, and can foster all kinds of really interesting conversations and reactions today. I wasn't going to go to be an artist. I was going to be a doctor. So actually I had applied to college. I was going to be pre-med, I was going to do biochemistry, and so I went off to do my study abroad, and I ended up in art school because that seemed really interesting. I'd always enjoyed art, but I didn't see it as a career path. And while I was there, I completely changed my mind. And so when I started college that fall after my study abroad year, I was an art history major. Because I discovered art history, and I discovered how much I loved art, and I still did some biology because I enjoyed it, but it changed my life. So I tell that to people sometimes. I'm like, it's really important to be exposed to new ideas and to new things, because you may discover that you're really good at it. And you may make a career out of something that really hadn't even occurred to you before. So it was serendipity. Sure. I'm really delighted. I've only been at OSU for a year and a half. I came to OSU from the University of Miami, where I had been on the faculty for 12 years and where I was the head of the art history program. And I came to OSU because this is a fabulous department with really amazing artists and excellent students, and also because the OSU Museum of Art was in the process of opening. And for me, this was a wonderful opportunity to create this real collaborative relationship with the museum, because the museum has these works of art which benefit our students. They get to see them, they get to touch them, they get to learn from them. And the art historians are able to curate exhibitions. And for me, one of my research areas is actually the history of museums and collecting. So, being involved in a museum that's coming into being was, that was a tremendous hook to actually bring me here. So I see that relationship developing even further, and I'm really excited about bringing students into the museum. It seems to me that here in Stillwater, whereas we have museums both in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, we have smaller museums here and there. Actually, there are lots of them in Oklahoma, but museums of fine art, we don't have that many, particularly in this area. So bringing them in, bringing students in, giving them opportunity to learn, to see, to handle, to learn a little bit about correct handling practices will be really just fun. And, because the museum doesn't have to be standoffish. You don't have to have people running around telling you to stay away from the art. There is a context for students to be able to, to hold that art, to come up close and look at it, to kind of take possession of it. I'll be there with them, but to be responsible and still have this kind of hands-on experience with it. So I'm really looking forward to that.